Hello everyone, my name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute. Thanks for joining me for Preston's Ponderings. Well, we're continuing our study of the claims that are being made far and wide that the Japanese earthquake is a sign that the end of the age is near. But hey, have you ever asked yourself this question? The end of what age? You know, it's assumed by all of the so-called prophecy experts that it's the Christian age that's supposed to end. Did you know that the Bible affirms that the Christian age has no end? Before we get to a demonstration of that, let me share with you the claims of those who believe that we're living in the time of the end and that the end of the age is near. You see, one of the basic presuppositions of all three futurist eschatologies is that the coming of the Lord, the judgment, the resurrection, belongs to the end of the Christian age. That is fundamentally wrong. Okay, Thomas Ice, with whom I've had 4 debates, says, quote, "The purpose of the rapture," which is supposed to be at the end of the Christian age, by the way, "the purpose of the rapture is to bring the church age to an end so that God may return and complete his program with Israel. This would be impossible if the church and Israel are combined," unquote. That's in the book, Fast Facts on Bible Prophecy, published in 1997 on page 58. It's very clear, therefore, that the dispensationalists who are saying we're living near the end of the age, they're saying it's the Christian age that must come to an end. Listen, this is incredible. The Bible affirms that only one age was to end, and that's the Old Covenant age. Now, I have more to say about Matthew chapter 24 and the end of the age in my next segment, okay? But I want you to look at Hebrews chapter 12 with me. Hebrews chapter 12, 18 and following, the writer sets forth a contrast. He is writing to Jewish Christians who are being tempted to go back under the old law at a critical period in history, in the 1st century. And he says, "You have not come to a mountain that cannot be touched, that burned with fire and tempest and a storm. And even if an animal touched the mountain, it was supposed to be thrust through with the sword or with the spear." But he says, watch this, "You have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn who are registered in heaven, to God the judge of all, to the spirits of just men made perfect, to Jesus the mediator of the new covenant, to the blood of the sprinkling that speaks better things than that of Abel. See that you do not refuse him who speaks. For if they did not escape, who refused him who spoke on earth, much more shall we not escape if we turn away from him who speaks from heaven. Whose voice then," that's at Mount Sinai, "whose voice then shook the earth, but now he has promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not only the earth, but also heaven." Now this saying, "yet once more," indicates the removal of those things that are being shaken as of things that are made, in order that things which cannot be shaken may remain. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us have grace by which we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Do you see what the writer is saying? Very quickly catch the power of what's happening here. He talks about the giving of the law, the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai. And he says at that time God shook the earth. But he said, only once more am I going to shake the earth, but I'm going to shake heaven as well. And he says that term, shake, signifies the removal of the things that are shaken. He's talking about the old covenant. Now watch this. He's standing on the very cusp of the removal of the old covenant world of Israel. Hebrews chapter 8 verse 13, that which is growing old, the old covenant, the Torah, that which is growing old is ready to vanish away. Hebrews 8:13. So, the writer of Hebrews is standing on the very cusp of the passing away, the termination of the age of Israel, the old covenant age. Now notice what he says in verse 28. Wherefore, since we, that's his first century generation, since we are, present tense, receiving a kingdom which cannot be shaken. Catch the power of this. He was living at a time in which one age was about to end, the old covenant age. It was about to cease its function. It was about to be terminated. It was about to be abolished. It was about to be removed. Just like modern futurist views of eschatology say is supposed to happen to the Christian age at the so-called end of the age. But the writer denies that very thing. He says that old covenant age was on the point of vanishing away. But he says they were, at that time, receiving a kingdom. Now, what kingdom was he talking about? He was talking about that which he talked about in verse 22 and 23, which he calls the church of the living God. And he says, wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved. Now watch. He's talking about a kingdom and an age that was getting ready to vanish away. Cease to be valid. Cease to be practiced. Cease to function. But he says the kingdom that they were then receiving would not be removed like that one was being removed. Now, futurism says the time is coming in which the church age will cease to function. The gospel will cease to function because there will be no more evangelism. There will be no more preaching. Whoops! The writer of Hebrews is setting forth a contrast. Remember, that old covenant age was going to cease to function, going to cease to have validity. In stark, direct contrast, the writer said that what was being delivered to them in the first century would never be removed, never cease to function, never cease to have validity. Any and all claims that the Japanese earthquake is a sign of the impending end of the Christian age, or any other phenomena that we might see and experience in our modern world, any claim that those so-called signs or events prove that the end of the Christian age is near are false. Why? Well, because the writer of Hebrews says the Christian age that they were then receiving, that was coming into effect, coming into force and power, will never be removed. Folks, there are no signs of the end of the Christian age. The Christian age has no end. We'll have more. Thanks for joining me for Preston's Ponderings. We'll see you on the flip side.